this tutorial is going to be about how to use a material like cardboard, something that's pretty easy to find and have access to. But you're going to use this as the base medium to create a sculpture. The materials needed for this demo are actually pretty simple and should be pretty accessible. You just need a glue gun, some glue sticks, a knife just to cut larger pieces of cardboard, a pair of scissors, a pencil, and then you can just use any kind of cardboard, any kind of cardboard box you may have laying around at your house, or if you can find that. What I'm basing my demo on is a sculpture that I saw actually in Krabi in Thailand when we were there a couple weeks ago. So it's actually just a big marlin, like a swordfish. And then you can see I did some watercolor sketches before I actually got started on it. So these are the things that I'll definitely want you guys to start doing. Those are going to be the initial steps. So let's go ahead and get started. So you can see what I'm doing here at the beginning is I'm actually just drawing kind of geometric-like shapes out on the surface of the cardboard, and then I go in and cut those with scissors. So you'll be using the scissors quite a bit during this this process. And actually, a lot of your shapes you will cut out geometric shapes. You can make them a little bit more organic, but you do want to make sure that when you glue them together with the glue gun, you want them to make sure that they do kind of seal in. Not everything has to be sealed. I know if you look at my like what I ended with at the beginning of the video, it's a little bit rough, and that's okay. That's just the nature of the medium. You can always go back, and once you have your sculpture finished or your model finished, then you can go back and cover it with another material, whether it's like a wet material or a paint. Actually, one of the students last year, one of the IB students last year, Andy, he covered a lot of cardboard models with Korean handmade paper. Yeah, and here at the beginning of the whole process, it's really important to figure out what size you're wanting to make your model. Just like what I'm starting with is the lower jaw of the swordfish, and you can kind of get an idea of how big it is compared to the rest of its body or the rest of the head. So of course, starting small, you do want to make sure that you're being aware of the proportions from one part of the sculpture to the next. So, and one of the reasons that I want you guys to use this material is because this is kind of a jumping off point of getting you started into three-dimensional work. Other techniques that you can use with this, you can actually build your model piece by piece. So what I'm doing here is I first built the jaw, and then I'm building the mouth, and then I made the actual the nose, the part that looks like the sword. I made that piece separate, and then I go back and attach it later. You can definitely do this. You could, if let's say for example you are doing an animal, or you're doing a face or something like that. Yeah, you can build it piece by piece and then just piece it all together later. So you don't feel like you just have to work from one little part to the whole. You could actually break it up into different sections. So once you get to this point in the tutorial, you can see that what I'm actually building is a model that's hollow on the inside. Now you can use the cardboard in different ways. You could actually cut it into pieces and stack it to make it thicker. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that you can show detail like that. But what I'm doing is kind of building a shell, and then what I would actually do later is go back on top of it and continue to include more detail with pieces of cardboard on top of the cardboard that I already have created. And then ideally, like if you wanted it to be more refined, you could put a different material on top of it. You know, whether it's like a paper mache, or there's really any kind of paper that has a glue on it, or like a paint. Yeah, and there you have it. So I was able to complete this one model, but ideally, what I would do is I would include other models with this three-dimensional piece. Now, of course, also with the three-dimensional piece of work, you also want to think about how it's going to stand up. Uh, you know, three-dimensional work should be supported by something, and you should be able to see completely around it in all angles and directions. So with this piece, I would actually go back and build maybe a base for it to set it on, or continue to just include things on the sculpture, um, to give it more aesthetic, like an aesthetic appeal or something like that. So yeah, this is what I want you guys to try in your demos. Now, of course, with the demos, continue to record your process, and then this technique will be something that you will also use in your studio work.